Wow, you guys are really angry at me for being a little late here. I rescheduled this show for 9 a.m., okay? I know you're thinking I'm over an hour late. Hashtag not true. I'm only 8 minutes late. And, but no excuses, just results here on the show. So I'm sorry about that. My apologies for being late. But hey, this is the Chess Today show where we log into the site for the first time in the day. We make our daily chess moves. We solve the daily puzzle and we check out content and what's going on in the chess world. Obviously, the biggest news right here, right in front of me, starting with content, is that we've got two matches this week, actually. So not just the matchup between Anish, Giri and Wesley, which is actually the second, taking place on Thursday, May 25th. But, of course, we also have Karjakin, the other top seed, taking on a challenger who qualified during the month of April, and that is Georg Meier. So if you are not aware of the Speed Chess Championships and what we're doing, now's the time to get involved. This is like the world online chess. You know, this is just awesome, right? We have all the best players in the world, just like last year we did with the Grandmaster Blitz battles. Are we going to have Nakamura and Carlsen in the finals again, or a different matchup? It'll be interesting to see. I've got a preview show today with Women's Grandmaster Jennifer Shahade, who's going to be joining me as my co-host tomorrow for Karjakin Meier. So make sure you check out the show coming up at 1:30 p.m. Pacific time. I'm not sure which of these two matches I'm looking forward to more, but I think it's Giri just because these are two of the world's elite who we didn't have competing in last year's event. So I don't think anybody can blame me for feeling like that's the marquee matchup for this week. And so that's going to be a ton of fun. Of course, the Karjakin Meier match, who knows, maybe it'll be a chance for one of the qualifiers to upset. I think if anybody has a chance, I think Georg would be my pick. If any of these qualifiers are going to upset one of the top four seeds, it's happening tomorrow. It's Meier beating Karjakin. I don't think Zhang is really going to have a realistic chance to take down Maxime Vacher-Lagrave, and I don't think Magnus Carlsen loses to anybody. So that's just a fact. So quick shout out to the fans before we dive in, just so you know that I'm not ignoring you. And again, I'm sorry to be late. What's up, the Night One? He wrote chess.com about how the banner says live now versus actually being offline. I was told that they have somebody that specifically deals with scheduling this stuff, and I was told it was taken care of. Part of the reason we make the show live before we go live is so that people can come in and start hanging out. So that's not going to change. I mean, sometimes the banner is live 10, 15 minutes before the show's going to go live because we want people to get ready for the show. So I understand that we may have wasted 8 minutes of your life, and you're never going to get that back. But that's kind of how we're going to continue to operate. So I don't know what else to say about that. Besides that, we have to make the show live at some point, and it has to be a little bit early so that people can join. So sorry about that. I love Shahade, but Hess and Rensch are the best duo ever. First of all, thank you for that. Robert will be back. We're trying a bunch of different co-hosts this year. Obviously, this is kind of my baby, so I'm the selfish guy who gets to be in every show. But we're trying to mix in different people and see how it goes. You know, we may end up with me and Bobby back again in the finals if it's Nakamura, Carlsen, or somebody else, or some, I don't know. But we're having a lot of fun. A lot of people want to get involved and do some commentary for the Speed Chess Championship, so it's been fun to bring on, and I think me and Jen will have a fun show tomorrow. Folks want to know if I still play OTB events. Not lately. The last OTB tournament I played, I think, was Millionaire Chess when it was in Vegas at Planet Hollywood. That was a couple years ago. I just don't have the time. I have a marriage, right, to keep together and to nurture and to do all the things that make for a happy home life. I've got 4 kids to raise. I have a job that would command 124 hours a week if I let it. I don't even know if I just made up a number, but a lot, you know, and so we got a lot going on. And right now I'm like the luckiest person in the world being in the position I am with chess.com, and that's my focus. So I would love to get back to playing some tournaments soon and traveling and maybe even try to make one final last stand for the GM title, but I just don't know that it's in the cards for me this lifetime. Maybe next lifetime I will be a GM. So chess is not greater than marriage, although if my wife isn't watching, then you get it. Anyway, thanks everybody for being here in the Chess TV chat. A lot of people here now. And thanks for being here and for being patient with the show. And a lot of fan questions. Feels like you guys watched my show yesterday where I kind of called you out. But let me jump over to the Twitch chat. Say hi to Funny Mink. I was a bit late today, 8 minutes late. Rope Stop says you're getting so yeah. And for the night one, the guy, the premium member on chess.com, who was a little frustrated with our system of going live. If you follow us and subscribe on Twitch, then you will get an email when the show is actually live. So you can also do that if you'd like to get an email and get notified. We've got. Is Danny? We're not talking about my wife like that. Not here. Not now. Not ever. Okay. That's keep that away. Love the Sweden friendly time, Danny. I don't even know what that means. Sweden friendly time, but anyway, thanks everybody for being here. We're gonna jump in right now. Let's go into the daily games. Let's go into the daily games and get the party started the way that it is meant to be, and that is right about now. So here we have, first, shout out to my Chess Geek shirt. Oh, back crack. Seriously, I can't ever crack my back enough these days. All right, so we've got some games here. We've got a number of games ready. Let's dive in. See how I get all pumped up as if it's like bullet chess or something? I get... Okay, so we left off yesterday. I was debating about whether I was going to extend with g5, and we ultimately decided that the threat of g4 was strong enough to go for it. And he took the bait. He played this, but that means after bishop g7 and knight c3, am I now not winning the pawn? Obviously, there's tactics here, right? There's all kinds of tactics happening. You know, if we're analyzing, if I take on d4, one of the first moves that comes to mind is certainly he has knight to b5, which threatens, you know, the d6 square, the c7 square. The thing about this position is that I already feel like it's a win-win regardless. And why do I feel that way? Because I have the bishop pair. And so even if I'm not winning this pawn, like let's say I bail out of this position with castles and he regathers the pawn in some way, whichever way he wants. I assume knight takes is probably best. As the position opens up, it's only going to favor black more down the road because I have control over the dark squares where he doesn't. And so one of the things, the tips I've given players as far as why we have to be a little bit careful with our bishops, right? We want to be careful with the bishop pair because the earlier you give your opponent the bishop pair, the more clear it is for them that they're going to dictate the game towards not only opening the position, but a control over a particular color complex. And so, you know, the dark squares is obviously on my mind, right? I got dark things on the mind here. And so I feel like it's a no-brainer. I'm just going to take it. And what? I mean, if he plays knight e4, which is maybe another way to hold the pawn, I could even play risk it to get the biscuit kind of chess. Try to attack the knight and hold on to the pawn. Little Chekaruski, maybe he takes here and he eventually goes back and wins the pawn. Not necessary, but I don't even know that I would really be that much worse here. Likely I just play the move queen to e7 though, and we promote that, make that the main line. And again, if he captures back, we have a couple things to consider. Aggressively launching this, Rekharovka, right? I mean, I think that all roads are going to lead to Rome, all roads will lead to Rome in terms of opening the position for black's bishop pair. So I'm gonna take it. You know, I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna take. Here we go. Okay, so now we have this other French going, which ironically is also a game with the bishop pair and also one where the dark squares may matter, right? Dark square lives matter, okay? Rook's lives matter. All lives matter, for the record. Chess Geek's lives matter. The interesting thing here is whether I want to dive into the dark square control for a gambito. No, something like this one does not make sense, yeah? No. No reason to give up the peshka. No reason to give up the peshka. So do I have to part with the bishop pair then? I'm okay with that because if Chopalicious, chop back, even something like this feels good. I'm preventing him from castling long. I'm going to start to perform a little bit of surgery here on the dark squares. If he doesn't do anything to make this worse or put more pressure here, I may also go back to the idea of the bishop joining the party this way. So this one also is just feeling good. Feels like the dark squares are headed my way. Let's go to chop down. Okay, well, my only move is just to capture back, clearly. And this is the one against Mike, which, as we said, this is one where I'm on my way to losing. Mike really takes his time. That's why we don't see this one very often. Mike uses all of his time. That's why he's better at daily chess than I am, to be honest. And I just have no other way to deal with this threat of the f7 pawn, so I had to play queen e6. I'm going to have to take it. And what we're going to see here is he's going to take on c5. And I'll have to decide, well, let's analyze it, I guess. So if I take, and he takes, and I take here, can I do this? I thought maybe I could do this. This was my plan. Maybe find a little bit of compensation at the end of the yellow brick road. Pressure on the e-file, etc. If he just plays some moves like this, I think that then here I definitely could have at least, very good drawing chances and being down the pawn. Let's save that analysis. But what else does he have in store? Mike is always calculating well. If I take there, he doesn't have knight takes f7, queen takes. I don't know that he has anything better than just taking here. And if I have this pin, if he moves the bishop somewhere else, then there become other problems here, right? If he moves the knight to try to defend, then he's got other problems with the bishop. So I don't know that he's either taking e7 and going for a line like this, where I can decide if I'm giving up the bishop for the pawn or if I want to do something else. One funny little question is, could I just go right here? I guess he has b4. And I'm not getting anything special. So I probably will just settle on this. I'll probably take and then, I don't know, play a5, I guess. Bring the queen back to d5. I'm trying to hold the position. He's got an open king and an isolated e-pawn, so some compensation for the pawn I'm down in the major piece endgame. This was kind of the line I'm planning on going for, I guess, in regards to how I'm going to hold this worst position. So that's my current plan against Mike. My opponent, I believe, made a big mistake. I think he should have played knight e4. If we go to the analysis board, he should have played knight e4, which is usually the way they want to go about this. And if you go here, like, here, and then sometimes they go like this, and black could get in trouble in these Blumenfelds if he's not careful on the king side. So I was expecting to get into a much more dynamic affair, but he took on d5, and after takes, now he's played queen c2, which is also looks to be better for him. I don't like the way I've played this. This also looks to be better for him. He's threatening bishop to c4. Not 100% sure or happy with my direction here. See, I'd like to play something like bishop b7, but if he goes here and I try to trade, I think he can go take this pawn. But if he does, I guess I win back this pawn, right? And this isn't the worst pawn to be down because I've got the a file and I don't know. I guess he could take here intermezzo, but now I'm going to take it, and probably taking here is a little bit too risky to get the biscuit. He might regret that, right? But this is a key moment. I have to decide. This isn't a full round situation here. If I just develop and he goes for this sort of thing and I have to back up and he castles and I castle, I don't know. I think he's better here. This is exactly the kind of blockade of these Blumenfeld pawns that is irritating. You can play like a4 and b3 and I don't know. A4 may not be that great. Am I overreacting? Maybe this is okay. I don't know. I'm not happy with this one. The balance of the Blumenfeld is, you're supposed to be getting this big center in compensation for what you've sacrificed on the queen side. And so one way you deal with your opponent's big center is if you get it to continue to overextend, then that space becomes square axis and weaknesses, right? So it's like if you had these two pawns together operating on d5 and d4, they really are sort of, they control an area of the board, they beat back the lions, and they allow you to build up strength behind them. The reason you have space is because your pieces can really build up strength. if you overextend, now diagonals become open, right? And open squares and access for your opponent to maneuver in and out and expose weaknesses. So that's why this, this aggressive e4 approach is a common shot against the Blumenfeld. And I don't even remember where I messed up the theory earlier. So I'm kind of debating, do I want to bail out? Do I want to try to simplify and maybe I like sacrificed even more, but able to get some sort of initiative and get some compensation back? I don't know. If I had just a couple more moves, if I'm already castled here, my rook's on the f-file, I feel much better, but I don't really feel that great. Let's go for this line again. I want to see what happens here. So realistically, what's going on here, really? He also has this move, and that's really irritating, right? Unless I can get away with this. Because now if he takes it, I've got a big center again. This is kind of okay. I mean, if you're playing an endgame like this, I don't know, this isn't the end of the world. Probably worse, but have some compensation. It's unbalanced. But something feels wrong about going for the endgame there. I feel like more and more I'm leaning toward I should just try to stick to my guns. Play bishop e7. Let him gain this tempo. He can also go here, which gains a tempo another. Ooh, actually, wait a second. That's a problem. He's hitting h7 and he's threatening to skewer me. So then I would have to go here, and if he can just go take this, I probably have a number of new issues here. Unless I'm going like full tilt here. I wasn't even really considering how powerful bishop to d3 might be. That's a new set of problems. So maybe I have to go bishop e7 first, but if he plays this, just go back here. No, but then he has knight to g5, and again, I'm in trouble here. The h7 pawn, the e6 pawn. I'm already in a situation where I might have to be on tilt. I might have to go bishop e7. Well, or I have to go to that endgame, right? Bishop e7. If he goes bishop c4, I got to go for that. And if he, at least if he plays bishop d3 now, actually still bishop d3 is a nightmare. But now I guess I can play moves like this. Nope, he can take it, and if I take, he has this. Wow. Okay, I got problems here, people. So that means that the tilt option may be the best option, right? Bishop e7, bishop d3, bishop b7, he takes, you just develop. If he goes for some sort of checks, even this, you maybe try to run, give him even more. You're just down a whole lot of pawns here, but you're hoping to get some sort of development initiative against the king. I don't know. This feels like I guess if he gives this check, I could go here, and if he goes here because I have this check, probably, and I'm defending. But I'm in a dynamic situation where I'm hoping for tactics to be able to hold. I think I'm going to go for this. I feel like I have to. Apparently I should have taken on d5 with the pawn even earlier. I mean, I don't know. I feel like I'm already worse. I mean, I messed up the opening and allowed e4, and d5 early was a mistake to extend that quickly because of e4. That's got to be the problem. But I'm going to have to practice what I preach and back up and take a look at it. This one is going better. This is against the same guy in this official chess.com tournament. Of course, you can and should join your own tournaments, everybody. On chess.com, they're happening all the time. But this one is going much better. I mean, after we talked about how I didn't really think c4 was very good and I was going to play b3, I expected him, he should have taken it. Then he's not down a pawn, even if he still has this dysfunction to figure out. But he decided he was so tired of his knight being on the edge, he creates this ability to bring it back, but he's just losing a pawn. And now I have a choice of multiple good things, I think. I think I'm just going to take and then play c5 with tempo, right? I'm going to take and then play c5 with tempo and continue to develop. So this one is a much better affair than the last one. And okay, it looks like our last game here for the day. Tension in this position is all centered around d4. I admit I'm surprised he's taken so long to capture on d4 and try to play knight to c5. So I'm not exactly sure how I want to deal with that. I'm gonna continue to build up on the tension, and I think if anybody's gonna break it, he has to break it first. Now that's strange. Because isn't that giving me... We just talked about how he needed to gain a tempo with the knight so he could save his pawn. But now if I take it... if he takes everything, in the end, he's not winning anything. I mean, if he goes here, he's not forking me. I can come back and guard c7, so that's just kind of strange. So taking everything isn't really on the table. Maybe he has a tempo in between, but... Now I have this move because his knight on f3 is gone. So he'd actually be losing a piece here. Or no, I guess just a pawn. He could still take, and here. But now, if the queens are off the board, a check on d6 and winning, taking away my right to castle is hashtag NBD, right? No big a deal. So I think knight takes d4 is a blunder. I'm just going to take it. I like it. All right. And there you go. The first section of our show, we've logged in. We've checked out our daily chess games. Looks like I'm still getting some comments in the chat criticizing me for my 500+ messages here. I had full intentions, if you followed me on Twitter, of diving into my messages yesterday, and I still miss it. I'm catching a lot of grief in there. There's a lot of stuff going on in my messages. It's like this is, again, like I said, I'm just sweeping this problem under the rug. I'm suppressing it down beneath, and it will explode later by projecting my rage on some innocent bystander who happens to cross me in a bad moment. You know what I mean? Just like any healthy man does, right? I mean, that's what people do. So that's kind of where I'm headed with that. Anyway, let's have some fun. Let's pop back in the chat and take some questions. What do we got? We got... If you asked a question earlier that was actually serious and looking for advice and I missed it, please post it again right now. Here, I think people realize that. At New Jersey, Greg, Diamond member, thank you for being a premium member in the Chess TV chat, says, Danny, can you discuss the caps calculation today? A very interesting idea, though I've noticed the results can be variable, even in the same game. Blah, 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 because of so... I can't get into the full back. I mean, there are CAPS articles, right, where we kind of we touch on the fundamental principle of the CAPS system is to measure the accuracy of someone's chess based on the same yardstick. We hold everyone to the same yardstick, and as the yardstick improves, whether that Stockfish gets better or the new Komodo engine just came out or whatever the algorithms are that we hold it to, right? So those in order for the system to work, you have a chess god. Those are assumed to be perfect to a degree, at least in the sense that the least amount of blunders, evaluation swings don't happen when you're playing like a computer, right? You're playing super accurate chess. And because we allow these computers to go to, this isn't something where people try to say, oh, but you're wrong because computers sometimes miss combinations that humans do, whatever. We're not running it out there at depth 8 and it only gets 2 minutes to think about, Fisher's lifetime games. I mean, we're running it out there at like depth 18, depth 20. It looks 20 moves deep on every position and it takes a ton of time. We run it through our system and our servers crank away at this stuff. And we are always working on the tech that improves the analysis of the CAP system. So if you let's assume for a second that we've done a good job developing like a really, really strong, patient system to evaluate all these games in history. Then we apply that same system to your games. And the issue is that if the CAPS is taken in only a one-game scenario, you're right. It can vary big time because one game is not necessarily a true reflection of someone's accuracy with a computer strength. I mean, even 1800s sometimes play perfect chess, right? They have a game where they made 0 blunders, 0 inaccuracies, and they crush somebody, right? Now, if somebody does that for X amount of games in a row, okay, now we're like suspicious, right? Or usually that takes like super GM level chess. So You're right. It does vary based on the individual game, and I can't get into all of that. But over time, if you're using our cap system and analyzing your games to kind of see a measurement of how, basically, I think where can it be educational? That should really be all that matters. Where can it help you get better? It can help you get better by measuring your blunders. I think the most important thing to understand is how often are you making wild swings? How often are you playing moves that like whether your opponent saw it or not. And again, that's why our cap system is in some ways better for measuring someone's strength and results. People always like, oh, FIDE, and we took a lot of flack at first that our system was just so ridiculous. And like I've said, a lot of people are now thinking about it the same way, because honestly, in many ways, whether your opponent sees that you made a blunder or not is not relevant to your improvement in chess. You still made a blunder. You see what I'm saying? So whether they punish you or not is often what dictates whether you think you had a good game. So the cap system can tell you whether you're playing accurate chess, whether the result was in your favor or not. And so if you're looking at a review of a system and you're seeing you're still making a lot of blunders, and that often represents a lack of focus on your opponent's threats, a lack of appreciation for certain ideas. You make blunders when you don't understand something, okay? Like, I always used to use this term with my students. If you wander into a dark alley at midnight, at 2 a.m. in a terrible neighborhood, you may not get mugged, but you certainly drastically increase your chances than by just staying home at 2 a.m. You get what I'm saying? Yes, so it's like little mistakes lead to blunders. If you put yourself in bad situations and you don't understand certain complexities about the game that you're playing, you're more likely to make a tactical blunder. And the cap system, the computer analysis, can show you that. So the overall goal should be for you to measure how you're doing as a player regardless of the result, regardless of whether your opponent punished you, regardless of the rating. That's the goal, and that's where it can be educational. Anyway, so that's my philosophical spiel on where you can use that. So Shady Graves is asking what the caps is. Maybe somebody else can point him the direction. Yeah, run computer analysis in your games. Maybe someone could share a link. Maybe I'll just do that real quick. Share a link to the World Champions article, right? Best World Chess Champions in History. This is an article I wrote that was based on our caps, and it's the top search there. So this was an article that I wrote, and I will share it in the chat right here. And anyway, so that's a little bit of kind of what I was talking about in regards to the history. There you go. All right, let's go over to Twitch and see if anybody's got any questions there. UK Geek says he's working on his own system that kind of does the same thing we're talking about, that aggregates your games based on common mistakes, compares it to theory. Yeah, our cap system debunks the theory that people say, well, you know, okay, there is truth that the evolution of chess players now do play more like computers than the champions of the past, but that doesn't mean they're not playing better chess. Okay, not just according to our system, but just overall. Because yes, computers are used more in preparation and all that stuff. And so certainly there are some things that favor more recent players, but also we don't take into account opening theory. And in fact, players of the past, everybody, sort of get the benefit of the doubt. If they played games that would match up even into theory today, even if those opening books didn't exist then, they're all sort of put on the same level playing field. So the point is, unless somebody's making a blunder in the opening, which means like a move that changes the evaluation by 1.5 or greater in the negative direction, they're not punished for that. So your argument that like old champions are sort of held to a worse standard and makes them think they were worse than the champions today, the fact is they do play worse chess. They don't play as accurate chess. And we don't punish them for their lack of opening theory. So that comment by UK Geek in the Twitch chat, which I appreciate, kind of reminded me of that. So, you know, we apply sort of the same yardsticks universally to everybody, and that's what allows us to pull these sort of things. And yes, as our yardsticks improve, yes, you may see some small changes to someone's lifetime cap score or something about how we project how good they were. But if we do that for one, we're doing that for all, and the yardstick is crossing the board to everybody. Tom Bullis says, I have a question about tactics. Namely, I tend to do much better on tactics that are higher rated than those that are lower rated, often missing easy captures. How to prevent So, one thing about the tactics system is that it's designed to be practical and that you don't know what you're playing for. So part of that is maybe just mental discipline. If you're missing tactics that are a little bit easier, you may not be doing that basic take into account what's going on in a position. Like I'm about to solve the daily puzzle. First thing is you look at the kings, right? Then you're looking at hanging pieces and you're looking at obvious tempo moves and captures. A tempo move or a capture of a stronger piece is, a rook takes a queen, a knight takes a rook, right? Anytime where you're gaining value, you're obviously gaining point value. So maybe you're taking for granted some of those basic checklists and you're always assuming that every tactic has some sort of brilliant solution. So maybe that's just the first advice I can give you there. So one of the cool things, GDog16 on Twitch, and I'm not going to dive too into this because the technology isn't perfected yet, but it's something that I am super, super duper excited about. You guys are going to love our next generation of the caps that we're working on, which is, he says it would be cool if there was a program to put your games in and it shows the average number of undefended pieces for all. His question there was not really related to it, but the point that it was focused on not just the chess games and the overall score of the game, but the specific pieces. Something I want to say that's very cool is, what we're doing is actually going to be able to help people see not just their overall caps, but their level of accuracy per piece that they play with. In fact, we're going to find out who is the most accurate world champion in history when moving their knights. And it's not ridiculous to think of, right? Because if we have the same yardstick and we can tell that whenever this knight move is like, Fischer made X amount of knight moves, and when he did, the evaluation swaying here, so maybe he blundered with his knights, whereas like maybe Magnus Carlsen is the best player with his knights in the history of games, and then it can tell you what pieces maybe that you're not using properly. So that's going to be a really cool thing coming out, and there's some other little sort of hidden gems in there that's going to be a ton of fun. Okay, so that was diving into the questions. You guys are really, really going. Ultra-modernist, if you don't stop shouting in all caps, in fact, maybe I'll just mute you now. Maybe I'll just mute you for a little bit. Give you a little timeout, let you think about it. If you think you're a titled Diamond member and that allows you to abuse the chat, hashtag no thanks, buddy. Okay, so stop shouting in all caps and actually contribute to the chat. In fact, I'm just going to mute you. You need to learn this lesson because you've done this many times. So I'm going to mute him for a little bit. Ultra-modernist is going to have a little timeout. So, just for all those members who think we treat our premium members or titled players more special, that's not true. Anyway, so I stink. You stink, Danny. Your name should be Daniel Stench. I agree with you. Thanks, buddy. That's really, really creative of you. And in fact, you're spamming it. So we'll just mute you as well. That sounds like fun. Yeah, why not? Let's mute people. All right, let's go do the daily puzzle, peeps. It's time for the daily puzzle. Maybe we could get a little jingle when it's time for the daily puzzle, right? Let's do it, right? All right. So first thing we do is we take a quick look at the situation with the king and with the obvious pieces that are either under fire or not, and we already see that this is a strange one. So obviously there's no tactics against the king that I can see immediately. The piece that seems to me to be sort of overworked and maybe kind of out of place is this queen over here. But the first move that came to mind to trap the queen was the move rook e2, but then he plays queen h4. I guess the simple thing is I'm not trapping the queen. If I play rook e2 and he goes queen h4, maybe I'm just winning the knight. Is that it? That might be it, just winning the piece back, considering that I'm worse if I don't. I mean, currently the count. So again, you go through the obvious tactics if you see something against the king, right? And then of course, if you don't, and the daily puzzle isn't just jumping at you, then you need to take stock of the position. You need to recognize what's going on. And in this case, white is currently down a piece, but white has a bunch of pawns, right? Black has 4 pawns, white has 7. So the first thing we think of is that obviously maybe there's some way to take advantage of the overworked queen, given that she is currently in a unique position and having to guard the knight. Bishop g3 would be a move you would consider, but it actually opens up the rook to defend the knight, so it kind of defeats the whole purpose of overloading the queen. So the only question is if there's something better. That's the only reason I'm still thinking. I don't see anything better. I don't see a way to trap the queen. Rook f1, I mean, he can take it. Queen takes c6 is whatever. I get another pawn, but then he can take e5 and rook takes, and now he probably really is winning there with the extra piece, and I'm unable to get it back. back. So I'm going to assume the move has to be rook e2. Okay, and now again, unless there was some sort of obvious tactic against the queen, my only follow-up would be to take, and that's it. So this is an interesting one, kind of a lame one, right? A little bit lame. A little lame, to be honest. We just kind of win a piece back, so I don't make the daily puzzles. I just, I just pretend to play a scientist on TV. So anyway, I think this was a little bit simple, but okay, obviously the point is white is winning right now. If he takes, and does a big trade at the end of those variations, maybe white can just take c6, and, black can't win back all 3 of the pawns that he's down in a couple moves. So there you go. That is the daily puzzle. Daily fun. So, okay, where are we at with the show? We're pushing a little bit long, and we've had some good practical advice here today. Obviously, we've gone into some of the information about the caps, given some advice about tactic solving and calculation. We have a few more moves that have been made in my daily chess game, so let's go back. Let's go back and do that. Let's go make a couple moves here, and then bring it to a close. So obviously he took back, which is what we expected in this one, and now we're just going to trade. And again, I'm not in a position where I'm really worried about tactics anymore of forking. I can guard c7, and this looks to be pretty simple. So one of the reasons I played this whole knight d7 idea is to open up the threat of eventually getting e5. Now, I can't do it here, but the whole point is that when you face a Tory/London/Collie, anybody out there, one of the things you want to do if you can is to sort of challenge their massive grip on the dark squares. So why am I playing a fianchetto to the dark squares? Why am I challenging with c5 and now e5? I'm trying to challenge their sort of stronghold over the center, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go straight forward, and I'm preparing very simply to play e5 and to try to have a better structure. So now you know a good plan against the Tory or London. You're welcome. So he plays knight f8. He's continuing to play chicken in regards to not wanting to take this pawn. I get it. I dig it. I think it's a patient approach and the right thing to do. I'm wanting to do a couple things here. I kind of want to get a knight to f5, but I also want to sort of complete my development. I'm not exactly sure how to do that. But one thing is that now that he's brought the knight back to f8, he's no longer threatening to just like pop the knight into c5 anymore. So how do I take advantage of that? I'm not sure. I really would like to play knight h4, but I think if I play knight h4 and he takes it, he's getting a discovery here, and then if I take it and he takes it, I wish I had some sort of tactics here, where like my queen and bishop are meeting and double attack, but actually, where does he put that bishop? Oh, nice. Look at that little tactic, right? Where does he put the bishop? I guess he can just go to d8, but no, in the end of these lines, I've got a slice little McGee here. What's going on here? This is absolutely bonkers here. Huh. A fun and interesting little tactic, a little tactical pattern that I wasn't even aware of. I need to save this analysis, I'll tell you that. Knight h4, can I get away with that? So knight h4, he's going to take. I'm going to take. He has to take queen here. If he guards it, again, I have ideas like knight takes d6. I also could play this, theoretically, right, and just win my material back with the threat on knight takes d6 as well. But this looks like it could be a lot of fun. Takes, and then you like, I don't even, wait, am I just mating him? Take here, and we'd like to think I'm mating him, but I may not be. At the very least, I can play tickle. Play tickle and then go take here, but then he gets this. No, he doesn't. Just a big old nothing. Okay, interesting. Let's go for it. I know I probably should be a little more disciplined about it before going for this line, but it just feels so fun. Let's do it. All right. And I think that's going to bring our Chess Today show to a close for today, everybody. This was a lot of fun. Thanks for being here. If Sam Copeland knows knows ultramodernists, so Sam, you need to give him a little word of advice to kind of be a little bit of a better citizen. If queen e7, Ed Vedder, that's what I was saying. There's tactics on f7. There's knight takes d6. That's kind of weird, right? Thanks everybody for being here. This was a ton of fun. Thank you, the night one, and do appreciate the feedback on going live early. And I didn't mean to kind of disagree with you publicly there, but I obviously just wanted to explain the purpose behind it. But of course, if you're following us on Twitch, then you will get an email when we're actually live. Thanks everybody for being here. Awesome. Thanks for the comments. Hey everybody. Pretty soon we're gonna start doing a show just for subscribers on Twitch, and just from the perspective that want to make sure the Twitch community feels appreciated there. So if you're a subscriber on Twitch, soon we'll have maybe a bullet brawl or some sort of show where we get to kind of play subs. I know a lot of other channels do that. That's never really been our thing, partly because we just have a big channel with a number of different hosts, right? Danny isn't the only ugly mug on this channel. So anyway, just keep that in mind. I thought of that because I just saw one of our awesome subscribers there, Sela Bethel. Thanks for being here, man. Danny does not have any GM norms. Danny does not have any GM norms. Thank you, Vinegar Bob. I do not, unfortunately. Maybe someday. Maybe someday I'll become a real boy. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Peace out. Oh, be here. So the Chess TV schedule. Just want to remind you real quick. Let's go to Chess TV. Let's open up the schedule here. And just remind you of what we're seeing. Come on. Why is the schedule not working? I do not understand. Maybe it'll work in this page. Huh. Look at that. Love finding a bug in real time. Somehow the schedule page is broken. Okay, well, the schedule will tell you that me and Women's Grandmaster Jennifer Shahade are going to be online in about 3 hours, 4 hours. It also tell you that I have an amateur hour today with the one, the only Mr. John Urschel. He is an NFL player for the Baltimore Ravens, a chess master wannabe, and also a kind of a world-renowned mathematician because of his other celebrity kind of rolled into one. So John Urschel is going to be my co-host today for the Amateur Hour show, which is going to continue to be this awesome experience where we have amateurs of different levels. Super beginner like Dave Payette. By the way, did you see Dave Payette's blog? If you like the Amateur Hour show, Dave, let's go there real quick. Let's go to the blogs. Dave Payette did an awesome blog where he basically summarized a whole bunch of stuff from our show. I've never seen anybody take notes like this. So it was pretty awesome. So the Amateur Hour will be shows with very beginners, then maybe intermediate players. Maybe even we'll get some people that are like not too far below me, right? Like maybe 2000 or Masters or something. I don't know. But I think mixing it up to have that sort of interaction and banter that people are seeming to really like, kind of like we've done with Hutch. Check out Dave's blog. It was an interesting read, and he almost took notes a little bit too closely. I might need to watch myself as far as what's going on with that relationship. All right, everybody. Peace out. Be good to each other, and we'll see you tomorrow for the Speed Chess Championship and on Thursday. The next Chess Today won't be till Friday. So, see ya.